Howdy folks, my name is Howdy and you're watching Brickity Split, the show where we talk all things LEGO Star Wars. This is the video I'm making to kick off the channel, and I figured what better way than to rank all the sets of 2024. Starting things off, man, this never feels good, but the Crimson Firehawk, just any 4+ set is just destined to fall down here. And I mean, as far as 4+ sets go, this is really not that offensive. It's far from the worst we've seen, but it's also not that good. And up next, not much better, another set catered towards the youngins. We've got the Creative Play Droid Builder. These builds are okay, I guess. They do come with cute little accessories to dress up your astromechs with, which is kind of cool, but I feel like there was just no desire for a set like this, and the exclusive minifigure they included certainly didn't sweeten the deal either. The price per piece may fool you into thinking this is a good deal, but with everything assembled, you'll probably regret it. Yeah, the value of that one hurts my groin a bit, but not nearly as bad as the freaking Mos Espa Pod Race. $80 for essentially 2 polybag builds and a bunch of sand-colored pieces. I mean, the scenery looks really nice, maybe a bit undersized. Sebulba's Pod Racer can't even fit through that arch. And the models are splendid looking. And yeah, the scenery's good too, but $60 would have been right on the money here. That would have been like a top 10, top 5 even set of the year, but 80 is just absurd. Very pretty though, and a very nice display piece. I just highly recommend picking this up on sale. Speaking of which, there is no set I recommend getting on sale more than the Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit. You know my issue with getting 600 sand-colored pieces in the last one? Yeah, well, it's very similar here. I feel like a good 70% of the pieces here are just needless bulk around the Sarlacc Pit, and it looks good, but be honest with yourself. Did you look at the last Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit and say, oh gee, I sure wish that Sarlacc Pit looked more like a giant pimple? Like, no, that looked great, everyone was happy with it, they just made this one super big. And maybe they beefed it up just so you could play around with the tentacles. That's a cool little mechanism in there. But is that feature worth it? Not to me. It's $80. The figures are pretty cool though, aside from the Boba Fett being inaccurate and Lando's helmet being not as good as what we've seen in the past. Generally very impressive figs, and that 9-nub minifigure. Oh, if you're a 9-nub fan, if you want that torso to make your rebel friend, whatever, that could justify this price, depending on how passionate you are about our boy. Me personally, I wouldn't even think about picking this up for more than like $60, but I am a bit of a broke boy. Up next, we got the Duel on Peridia set. $55, 5 minifigures, gray base plate, 75 stickers. Some of that's an exaggeration. You did have some cool mechanisms built into the space plate where you can, spin around your guys and make them fight. And the stickers do add nice details, but I mean, you could have printed some of that. My gosh, the sticker sheet is massive. And credit where it's due, Thrawn looks fantastic. Good to see him again. Ezra looks good. Ahsoka looks good. That Night Trooper should have been Captain Enoch, and if it was, this probably would have been a couple spots higher. Now, if you want to invest in a set for minifigures, this is probably one of the best this year. So I guess if that's your thing, go for it. But I'm a big fan of the build in a set as well, and the build just does not do it for me. Up next is a set that I have had beef with since I very first laid eyes on it, but I've heard no one else talk about it. But the MIDI scale Tantive 4, dude. Cool model and very, very detailed, but that head, dude. Oh my gosh. What are you doing down there? You are so small. And if you've seen the Tantive 4, even in old LEGO sets, you know how big the head is supposed to be. This is like half that size. I could just edit this in Photoshop to what I would rather it be, and you tell me what looks better. I don't know. Maybe I'm a crazy person. It's like entirely my personal grudge against the proportioning here that puts the set this low. Other than that, it's pretty good. $80 I still feel is kind of a lot, but that's alright. Let's move on. The TIE Fighter and X-Wing mashup. I want to like this set way more than I do. It's based off Rebuild the Galaxy. I really like the mashup thing it's got going on. Its heart was in the right place. But we just got an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter, and these are worse. I actually do really like the shaping and coloring of the fuselage of the X-Wing, but pretty much everything else about these sets I feel is inferior to the past models. They for some reason retired that hatch piece that's been on top of TIE vehicles forever and used like 5 pieces and then some stickers on it. Like, why'd you do that? They still don't make this piece in light gray for some reason. The minifigs certainly weren't anything to write home about, and Rebuild the Galaxy has some crazy characters, which is awesome, but 2 of the 5 characters we get in this set are just normal pilots we could get in anything. I love the versus sets of 2 ships fighting each other. That's some of my favorite stuff in all of LEGO, but this just missed the mark for me. Up next, the Imperial Dropship versus Rebel Scout Speeder. For $40, you got some pretty cool looking builds. What's missing here is an extra figure for each side. I'm sure you've heard this from all the YouTubers you watch, but battle packs, 4 figures for $20. So 2 battle packs, $40, you get 8 figures. Nope, sorry, you get 6, and then a pink droid. No disrespect to QTKT, none whatsoever, but I just can't be putting you on the battlefield. I gotta protect you. What I need is some expendable Rebel and Stormtrooper meat, and we are just missing that here. But even if this set is lacking in the minifigure department, in my opinion, the builds are fantastic. That Rebel Speeder looks bulky in all the right places, a lot of stickers, and the grays of the sticker don't match the grays of the brick, which kind of sucks, but these are super cool. I love sets that pay homage to the older eras of LEGO Star Wars. Now, if they knocked $5 off the price, or maybe threw in an extra Stormtrooper and Rebel, this could have been way higher, but once again, just squandered potential. Alright, up next, I'm not super confident in this placement, but I do really miss those cheap LEGO Star Wars sets. We need some more of them, but we've got Captain Rex's Y-Wing. Not the full-size Y-Wing fans have been demanding for years. No, this is just a microfighter, but still a pretty cool build. And that controversial, perceived exclusivity aside, the Captain Rex fig is pretty good. Again, I hate the helmet holes. The holes themselves are fine, it's just where they are. Just listen, you take that and drop it down there, you got yourself a good helmet. But LEGO cannot seem to wrap their brains around that these days, so yeah, printed waist cape, giant pauldron, giant ammo pouch. There's a lot holding the figure back, but it's generally pretty high quality and very accessible, and I do appreciate that. More cheap LEGO sets. More cheap LEGO sets. I sound like a broken record, but up next we got some more squandered potential. We got the Bark Speeder Escape. 30 bucks for this one wasn't too bad. It's pretty much right on point for what we've come to expect from LEGO. The 501st Troopers are looking worse than what we had 4 years ago for pretty much no reason, and that sucks. But yeah, Keller and Beck, easily the star of this show. He had some beautiful little gold printing details along his robes. Fantastic figure. I've heard a lot of people complain about how the face print on Keller and Beck kind of doesn't look anything like Ahmed Best. I don't know, LEGO face prints don't even have noses, so they're not gonna look that accurate. I think that's kind of silly. And how could I forget the greatest part of this set? The layout. The Bark Speeder itself is pretty cool. I don't really like the giant stud shooters right there on the front. I would have preferred if they were a little towards the middle, kind of like by where his feet are or something. And I guess the fourth character, I refuse to acknowledge him as a minifigure, but you know, you got Grogu in his pram on a little sidecar, very cute. Moving on now, I don't really know where to put this. We got the Luke Skywalker's lightsaber gift with purchase. You got this for free. Well, some of you got this for free if you bought the UCS Jabba's sail barge, and people are selling this for like $100 to $200 on the secondary market already. And I think that's kind of ridiculous. Like, maybe you want the display plaque or something, or just the box or whatever, but you could part this out on like Bricklink and get it for like 20 bucks. But the model itself looks really good. Easily the best buildable lightsaber hilt we've had so far. Something that does kind of bother me though is that this lightsaber hilt is way bigger than the other Luke's lightsaber hilt that we got. I just would like a little more continuity when it comes to the sizes, because they look about the same size in the movies and whatnot, but I don't know. Kind of nitpicky. I don't know where to put this. Take it with a grain of salt. This next one may land me some pretty unsavory comments. This one doesn't seem like a very popular set of the year, but I thought it was pretty cool. We got the Luke Skywalker X-Wing mech. Mechs don't really work in Star Wars, but I don't really care. I like to think of this as just like a fun Legends set, something LEGO made up for fun. This is, in my opinion, easily the best mech we've gotten. He's got the blaster, he's got the lightsaber, he's got the X-Wing wings behind him doing their X thing. That's just awesome to me. Now, instead of just making a big robot version of the minifigure, can you imagine if this was just a giant orange jumpsuit? Ugh. But instead of that, they actually turned his X-Wing and the themes of the X-Wing into a mech. I think that's really cool. The Luke didn't have like arm printing or dual molded legs or anything, which kind of sucks. But yeah, this was a fun one and a cheap one, which, as you know, I appreciate. Moving on. Maybe the most wasted potential of any set this year, unfortunately. Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator. I had just recently joined the LEGO community when I heard this ship was coming out, and I was so pumped. The Sith Infiltrator is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars ships, and LEGO in the past has been very experimental when it comes to making models of this ship, and I think that's really interesting. Everyone is very unique. This newest model looks so good and so bad at the same time, and it drives me crazy. I mean, looking at like a top-down view of this thing, look at the colors and the layering on top there. They freaking nailed it. But dude, what is that lump doing? It's like how people complain about Obi-Wan's Delta 7 having like a beer belly. Look at that. That is way worse in my opinion. Especially considering the proportions of the actual in-universe ship. That is as flat as can be. Looking like a pancake. What is this though? And I'm sure I'll get comments, oh, it's for the play feature for the kids. There's the little probe drones hiding in there. Yeah, I know. Other sets have had that feature done way better and way more concealed, way more flat. Why is this so bad? The last Sith Infiltrator in 2015 was 90 bucks with 5 figures. And that may sound kind of overpriced until you realize just how big that model was. This one is not that. This one is easily half the size. And with only 3 figures, and I guess the 25th anniversary Saw Gerrera, he's pretty cool. Qui-Gon Jinn had a poncho, that's cool. The leg printing sucks though. Darth Maul's got good printing, I guess. No cloak, no hood piece, and his pupils are gone. I think his speeder looks really tiny and wimpy, which is kind of sad. Now, if it was any bigger, it wouldn't fit in the back of the Sith Infiltrator, so I guess I get it. But yeah, with every every step forward with the set, there was another step backwards, and that just sucks. I do not see $70 in this set. If they threw in a Padme, a Watto, Captain Panaka, maybe an Obi-Wan, or even just knocked 10 bucks off the price, this would have been way better. This set still does a lot right, and it's really great for play, but man, this was just the biggest disappointment of the year for me. Up next is a set I don't really know how to rank. It looks really cool, but I don't know if it's accurate. Nobody does. It's the Onyx Cinder from the Skeleton Crew show. I think it comes out like near Christmas or something. I'm recording this towards the end of October. It looks really cool, got fantastic interior, got some cool minifigs. The minifigs have these cool like little flashlight accessories I thought were lightsabers, and I'm like, oh gosh, a clan of Jedi children, we're all screwed. But yeah, there's this awesome little feature where there's a lever on top of the ship that's connected to the engine, so when you move it forward and back, the engines will follow. It's pretty freaking cool. I don't have a whole lot more to say. There's really nice detailing all over the ship. It's a good size and good piece count for the price, I feel. At 140 bucks, that's about on par. But yeah, no one's seen the show right now, so we don't really know how good this is, so I can't put it any higher, but very, very cool. Next is another set I'm not quite sure how to rank. We got the Paz Vizsla and Moff Gideon battle. Super, super cool minifigures. We are missing a Praetorian Guard from the scene, but he did show up in the advent calendar, so I guess he's not like completely missing. But yeah, 40 bucks for this, maybe overpriced. You got a cool sliding door, you got a turret up top, and some nice scenery with some big pieces, so the price per piece might fool you into thinking you're getting something smaller than you are. But yeah, Paz Vizsla's looking great. Moff Gideon's looking great. I kind of wish Moff Gideon came with a cape, but then you got the cape versus backpack dilemma, like which accessory you want, maybe both. That might like ruin your cape or something. I don't know. I wish they at least gave you the cape so you can make that decision for yourself. But yeah, in my opinion, a big part of this set's charm is that it can connect with a battle pack that came out at the same time we'll take a look at a little bit later in the list. I think that is so cool when you can buy two sets, combine them, and make some kind of giant battle. I just love that. Okay, up next, quite an unsung hero of the year in my opinion, and still only about halfway through the list, but we got the Invisible Hand. It's 50 bucks, which is actually a really good deal in my opinion, but because of that, they couldn't make it too big, and there's so much detail in the Invisible Hand, I think you have to make it a little bigger to fully do the MIDI scale justice. But even so, you still have some awesome details. You've got the bridge with a bit of an illegal looking part connection. I'm not quite sure if I like that. You got that blue grid to represent the hangar bay that Obi-Wan and Anakin just slide on into, and you can actually split this ship apart in the middle to kind of recreate that crash landing sequence from Revenge of the Sith. The designers didn't have to do that, but they went ahead and did it anyway. That's so cool. A very iconic scene from my personal favorite Star Wars movie. Generally a very nice, well-detailed set. I just think it should have been bigger. Up next is a set that I'm maybe putting a little too low. I see a lot of people talk about this set like it's their new best friend. It's the buildable C-3PO. This is one of the best buildable characters I think we've had. The proportions I think are fantastic. The detailing is great. I think where his calves meet his feet looks a little weird. The shaping just got a little off somewhere in there. I can't quite put my finger on it. But yeah, you've got those like little pistons or like actuators or whatever that connect like his biceps to his forearms. That is a small touch, but a great touch that definitely helps his robotic feel. A lot of people like to rag on the way his face looks. I think that looks fine actually. I mean, yeah, compare this face to Chewbacca's, you'll come crawling back. There were rumors that this would come with a reused C-3PO without the dual molded leg, but he did actually come with a dual molded leg and printed arms and the whole package. So that's cool. But all around, this is a great set. I can't really name anything like objectively wrong about it. It's just not really my thing, which is why I didn't put it any higher. Up next, we have the even more beloved companion of C-3PO, R2-D2. This buildable R2-D2 is in a great scale with the C-3PO, so you can display them both together and they will look fantastic. But yeah, great details, great proportions, great accessories too, man. You can customize this guy like crazy. I wasn't a huge fan of the way the UCS R2-D2's head looked with those like curved pieces, so this went for a much more like brick built and studded look, and I think that is way more appealing. And speaking of appeal, I mean, Darth Malak, he looks so freaking cool. Some arm printing would have helped, but I can't be too picky. I'm just so glad that we got some more Legends content, and Old Republic Legends content at that. But yeah, $100 for this, more than fair, and a great way to kick off the March wave of this year. Another one of the first sets this year, we got the Boarding the Tantive 4 set. You got the Darth, you got the Troopers, you got the Captain, you got the Rebels, and then you got this guy. I'm not a huge fan of the 2008 Clone Wars series. I've never really been a huge fan of 5s, but just looking at this guy, I can tell they did not do him justice. The like arc of the print on his helmet has been like flattened and like squished or something. Yeah, printed waist cape. He does have the little pauldron, and it's actually a good size this time instead of that massive freaking blanket hanging off of Captain Rex's shoulder, but it does not have that nice curve that they want you to believe that it has in like promotional material. It is flat, and as much as you may try, I don't think you're gonna get that curve out of a cloth piece. Good luck. Definitely another blown opportunity, but still a pretty cool looking figure, I gotta say. The Tantive 4 is kind of made to go with itself. You know, you can buy a couple of them and then merge them together and have extra Rebels and extra Stormtroopers, and extra Darth Vaders, you know, to build your Darth Vader army. Also worth mentioning the like wall paneling and detailing of the Tantive 4. Oh, just one look at that, you know exactly where you are in the Star Wars universe. They did a great job. Also worth mentioning are these little Technic pieces on the side here that may look pretty ugly to you, and I kind of get that, but they serve a purpose. If you twist them, certain studs in this little platform here will like twist as well, causing your stormtroopers and rebels to fall over as if they've just been shot, which is awesome. Such a cool play feature. Love that. Moving along, we got what a lot of people might consider the most overrated set of the year. We got Jedi Bob's Starfighter. I personally am very conflicted about this set. I want to put it up super high and I want to drop it down super low, and for very different reasons. Let me explain. There is no piece of Star Wars media I love more than Clone Wars 2003, and this set I feel is kind of an homage to Anakin's custom Jedi Starfighter, the Azure Angel, which is my absolute favorite LEGO Star Wars set of all time. The placement of those big cannons, the engines on the front, maybe I'm just making things up, but man, I can dream. I love this model so much, but it's $40. Now, the Anakin's Custom Jedi Starfighter set was also $40, but that was a lot bigger than this was. Granted, it was almost 10 years ago that came out, inflation and all, I get that. I want to say the $40 is unjustified, but I can't really prove it. It really just depends on how much you like Jedi Bob, how much you like these kind of starfighters, and how much you like the Akbar Trooper, I guess. Overall, super cool set. Love the coloring, love the shaping of everything. It is just so sleek, and I want to pretend they made this to pay respects to the Azure Angel. Okay, moving on, another controversial set. I'm not quite sure how to place, I'm not too confident in this placing, but it looks so damn cool. We got the Trade Federation Troop Carrier, baby. This was this year's May 4th gift with purchase. I think the threshold was like $160, which sounds kind of steep, but this isn't a minifigure in like a little baggie or anything. This is a whole ass set. If this was sold on its own, it probably would have been like 30 bucks or whatever, but man, this one is so cool. This seems to be a very direct remake of the 2001 Battle Droid Carrier, but it was in that old brown. They didn't have a whole lot of pieces to make a more modern and sturdy build, and the droids had these two curved arms, you know, ready to lift some dumbbells, not ready to hold a gun. I love little callbacks like that, and I hope they do more in the future. This set's so cool, but obviously the availability is very limited, being a gift with purchase. Now, if you want to put this at the bottom of the list because you're mad that you didn't get it, I totally understand. If you want to put this freaking sky high, top 5, top 1, I understand that as well. Okay, up next, maybe a little too high on the list, but we got the Ambush on Mandalore Battle Pack. Mandalorian Warrior and Night Owl figures are super cool, very easily army buildable. Even more army buildable are the Imperial Commandos. They look awesome. They've got a dual molded helmet, which I think is really cool. I'm glad LEGO went the extra mile to give us that helmet. Proportionally, I think they kind of screwed things up a little bit. Just the size of the visor and that like mouthpiece is just too big for what we actually see in the show. I'm not super picky about it. They still look really cool. But yeah, for 20 bucks, you get these 4 awesome figures, a nice little build that can attach to that Paz Vizsla versus Moff Gideon set from earlier, and it comes with that nice little clear piece so you can make it look like one of your dudes is flying. I love that. This set, in my opinion, gets a little too much love, a little too much hate. I feel kind of right in the middle. It's the UCS Jabba sail barge. The build is immaculate. I can't really think of any ways the build could have been better. But this set was ultimately dragged down by 2 key factors. That's the price at 500 bucks and the minifigures. And I hate to say that because some of them are really, really good, just doing a great job, and others are just complete disappointments. So first up, we got Jabba. He's great. He's an innocent little boy in all this. To my knowledge, it's the same Jabba mold that we've had since like 2012 or whatever, but improved printing. So that's cool. The C-3PO, I mean, no dual molded leg for $500. When we've gotten it before in cheaper sets, that's just a no-brainer. I don't know what they're doing. Bib Fortuna, printing looks great, but the headpiece is from Fat Bib Fortuna from the Book of Boba Fett show. That's just wrong. But hold on now, look at these cuties. I wanted some obscure named characters, you know, among the staff of Jabba's sail barge, and they definitely delivered. But where they didn't deliver was leg printing. I mean, look at those bland things. I hate to repeat myself, but $500 is a lot for what you're getting in this set, so what you're getting should at least be the highest quality, which it's very far from. Of course, we've got the man, the myth, the unit, Max Rebo. He's a beautiful boy. He needs no more printing. He looks great. The Gamorrean Guard, maybe the best figure in this set. Fantastic printing, fantastic molds. He looks phenomenal. Salacious Crumb is missing pupils. I don't really care, but I get it if you do. R2-D2, a huge step up from the last one. The beverages have fluids in them, dude. That is never something I ever thought we would see. That is so cool. I love it. But probably what I would say is the actual best figure of this set is Princess Leia. Now, she has the dual molded legs when C-3PO does not. Like, I don't really care. No, my tiny plastic woman has less exposed skin. My day is ruined. It is definitely a little annoying how they give the dual molded legs to the wrong character, but it's whatever. Nice chest print, nice back print, great hairpiece, fantastic hairpiece. It looks so good. Again, the build is phenomenal, one of the best we've seen of all time. But those figures, man, maybe call me a pessimist or whatever, but I have no complaints about like 3 of these figures, and for a $500 set, that is just not gonna cut it. Next up, this set is maybe the biggest shocker of anything we got this year. It's the Dark Falcon. This just seems way too weird for LEGO to ever try, but they did it, and it's here, and it's awesome. The build is very similar to the 2019 Millennium Falcon, which is Rise of Skywalker themed, which is like one of the worst Star Wars movies, so sadly I would feel more comfortable buying this as my first, Millennium Falcon than that one. Black and red, in like a lot of cases, in my opinion, is like trying too hard to be cool, but I think the set pulls it off very well. Plus, it's got enough like whites and grays and a little bit of green to kind of balance everything out. The minifigures are super cool. We got the Bounty Hunter C-3PO with the black arm. We got the Beach Luke looking all clean and spiffy, love it. Darth Dev, he's got really cool printing, it looks awesome. Evil Ray is probably the least interesting figure here. White Vader is so badass, I love it. I just really wish they gave him like blue or silver eyes. The fact that the eyes are the same color as the rest of the helmet is just such a missed opportunity for me. And even the Jar Jar fans are getting some love with the Darth Jar Jar minifigure. No leg printing, I don't really care. I'm just happy to have this figure at all. Got a double-bladed lightsaber, some great unique printing with those Sith eyes looking straight dastardly. At $180, you could argue this is a bit pricey, but considering the aftermarket value of those figures, most, probably all of which we will never see again, I think it's worth it. Cracking the top 5 now is a set that I have a hard time loving like everyone else does. And a lot of you guys will probably be mad that this isn't number 1. But we've got the Clone Trooper and Battle Droid Super Battle Pack. This thing is so freaking cool. You know how I said battle packs are $20, you get 4 figures? This one's 30 and you get 9. And a giant Akuptara that. I see a lot of people wanting to give this set a 10 out of 10, and if you feel that way, I'm happy for you, but I think that's kind of absurd. Take one look at these plain white Phase 2 clones and then compare them to what we had 10 years ago, and it is night and day. We have lost so much quality. The helmet hole's easily my least favorite issue with this helmet. The cheeks have these really dark patches, which they're indentations in the design of the helmet, but they're supposed to be shadows and not actual dark spots. I mean, take one look at the source material, you know what's happening here. 2014 nailed it, and 2024 did not. I have no idea why they're so dark. And just the look of the visor, it's so like short and shrunken and fat. I just really do not like the way it looks. That might actually bother me more than the helmet holes, I'm not sure. The chest print, I guess, is like Clone Wars accurate. I think the movie accurate version looks way better, but that's all like personal preference. And maybe the thing that bothers me the most about this set is that speeder. I'm sorry, that looks like it came in a 4+ set. I'm gonna be real, dude, that looks terrible. But the Separatists are living the life. Look, they got super battle droids. They brought him back after nearly 10 years. Look at that stab. Look at how cute he is. And that droid, such a cool build. It's so cool. You got the 3 cannons built into the head, you got the 3 flick fire missiles built into the legs. This set has a really great balance of opposition, which I feel is something that's missing from a lot of like versus battle packs and sets and stuff. Like, hey, here's the entire Hoth Echo base versus 2 snowtroopers. Like, dude, come on. But yeah, a fantastic way to build your clone and droid armies at the same time. At number 4 here, if you don't think the Super Battle Pack is the best, you probably think this one is the best. So that's more angry comments for me. I bring it on, I guess. It's the Imperial Star Destroyer. This set is fantastic, but so many people talk about it like it's the second coming of Christ. It kind of drives me nuts. The designers did an undeniably great job with this. I do have a few nitpicks though. Let me explain. So you see the section of the ship where that bridge is sitting on? I don't know. We'll call that the sandwich. I think that area is just a little bit big compared to the rest of the ship, especially when compared to like images of the source material from the movies. So the proportions are a little wonky. The panels all open up to reveal a pretty nice interior considering the small size of this Star Destroyer. You got a nice little carrying handle that's not really necessary because it's a super sturdy model. You got 4 little dual cannons on each side of the ship that can all like move in unison with each other, which is super cool. I mean, the detail is phenomenal, but sadly another reason that I can't put this any higher is the figures. And what's wrong with the figures, you might be asking? Well, there's nothing really wrong with them, but in my opinion, there's nothing interesting about them either. The Darth Vader is great, got arm printing and everything. Nothing new though, we've seen this before. Got a couple Imperial officers, I feel like no one's really excited about that. Whatever you call this guy, an Imperial gunner who's pretty cool, and only 1 Stormtrooper. I feel like that's kind of ridiculous in an Imperial set this big. There should at least be 2. And obviously the best figure and the highlight of this set would be the Cal Kestis. He does not come with his little droid companion BD-1, nor does he come with a poncho piece, both of which would have been nice. So even that That is kind of unfortunate, but still a cool figure. Alright, wise guy, what would you put in the set? A very valid question. I'm definitely being very nitpicky. Lego did nothing wrong with the variety here. A lot of people are into that. I personally would have loved to see like a Tarkin. I think that would have been awesome. Maybe an Imperial officer. I actually really like those gunner minifigures. 2 of those would have been nice, and then like 3 stormtroopers would have been awesome. But aside from a couple quirks with the proportions and some generally kind of bland figures, I like basically everything else about this set. And I don't even mind the downscaling too much because the detailing is perfect. One of the all-time greats for sure. Okay, moving on. This is maybe my favorite set of the year, even though it's not number 1. It was almost number 2, and I'll explain why I didn't make it in a second. We got the buildable Droideka. This thing is phenomenal. I cannot think of any ways they could have made this better as a display model. I mean, the details, the proportions, the building techniques, everything is so damn good. But nothing is truly without flaws. The overall quality of the set is ultimately brought down by the minifigure scale Droideka. And Lego has been struggling to make these for over 20 years, since 2001. And this is probably a pretty cold take, I'm fully aware of that, but I think minifigure scale Droideka models peaked in 2001. That 2018 foil pack was also not too bad, but yeah, that's my goat. I feel like its arms are really long when the Droideka itself has quite short arms. And then the legs, dude, why are they using such large claw pieces? So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. That definitely brings the set down a little bit. That would have made it number 2 on the list if it was good, but I'm happy they at least tried. Like, at least we get one, right? Back to the actual buildable model. It can roll up into a ball. You gotta take the legs off and then turn them upside down. It would have been really cool if the whole like butt piece could just like swivel upside down or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not really a designer. I can't complain. I think the best feature is that the shoulders are built with like some pretty complicated Technic inner workings. So each gun alternates moving forward and back as if it's shooting. It's such a well done feature. It's awesome. And I think the absolute best looking part of just anything here would be like its head. Those sensors with the lipstick pieces, absolutely brilliant part usage. Like, that's something you'd see in a fan-made mock. I mean, they absolutely knocked it out of the park with the details. It is so good. And yeah, I could keep nerding out about this set, but I'd rather this video not be like an hour and a half long. I am such a sucker for prequel appreciation, and they nailed it with this set. I'm so happy we have it. I'm so happy it's this good. And $60? Shut up and take my money. Alright folks, at number 2 now is a lot of people's choice for number 1. If you didn't think the Star Destroyer was number 1, you probably would put this one up there, and I didn't put either in the number 1 spot. But we've got the midi-scale Millennium Falcon. The longer I look at this set, the more I am just baffled by the part usage and the detailing here. It is just out of this world. This actually isn't the first time we've gotten a midi-scale Millennium Falcon. We got one back in 2009, and I thought that one nailed the detailing. I still think it looks great, even by today's standards, but this one just completely blows it out of the water. However, there are a couple hangups for me that keep this out of the top spot, and they can both be chalked up to personal preference, but I think it's just a little bit too expensive. I think 85 is pushing it. Now, those of you that care about price per piece, you look at 921 pieces, you're like, oh yeah, $85 is great, that's fine. But I mean, looking at the build, there's a lot of very tiny pieces, and this is definitely not as big as 921 pieces sounds. And then reason number 2 why I didn't put this at the top spot is that the front little fellas, I don't know what to call them, but they're just a little short and stubby, which is ironic because in the past, for the large play scale models of the Millennium Falcon, I feel like they've made them too pointy. But yeah, I cannot look at this set and let that not bother me. Again, that's just kind of nitpicky, subjective crap, doesn't really matter. But yeah, aside from that one small issue, this, design-wise, hits several nails on the head. There's some pretty complicated techniques used to achieve those awesome angles you see for the top plates, and then all the detailing on top, the radar dish, the turret, and then the thrust achieved with that, like, flexy trans blue hose. Oh, this set is so cool. This is a must-buy for any Millennium Falcon fan, any Han Solo fan, any original trilogy fan, even. And we haven't had a whole lot of midi-scale sets, but I definitely think this one is the best, even if it's just a little bit overpriced. Fellas, we have made it to the number 1 spot. This was a pretty good year for LEGO Star Wars, and making this list was really difficult and took me a long time. But for those of you who've been keeping track, you guys know what's at number 1, and it's probably one of the hotter takes of this video. But my pick for number 1 is the UCS TIE Interceptor. Man, the TIE Interceptor got like no love for nearly 20 years, and then LEGO hit us with the 1-2 punch. We got an awesome play scale model, and then an even better UCS model back-to-back years. And that just makes me so happy. It's one of my favorite vehicles in all of Star Wars. It comes with an awesome Imperial pilot with leg and arm printing, as well as a little mouse droid, which, like, sure, it's not a minifigure, but what other figure would you have put here? I don't know. I think it's cool. And it's worth mentioning that this was actually made by the same LEGO designer who made the original UCS TIE Interceptor in 2000. I have like zero gripes with this set. The information plaque is like shiny and attracts fingerprints a lot and just doesn't look as good as the matte ones. I don't personally care that much. I'm more interested in just the model and the building techniques used for it. And I've heard people complain that the cockpit is kind of like lumpy in certain places, I think it looks really, really good. And yeah, with any set, there's gonna come little gaps and, you know, not everything's perfectly smooth, but they're Lego pieces, man. Plus, the techniques they use to get the curvature of the cockpit, they're super complicated, and they actually provide for quite a lot of interior space. And this is actually quite a bit bigger than minifig scale, but that just means there's more room for detail in the interior. You've got tons of awesome stickers surrounding where the pilot is supposed to sit. It looks so badass. And despite how long and slender the wings might look, it is actually a very, very sturdy model. Another great part about the set that really enhances its display aesthetics is the stand. It holds the TIE Interceptor at like a really dynamic diagonal angle, and it uses like a square peg connection, so it's super strong. And in recent years, this kind of UCS set would usually go for like $240, but this one was brought down to $230 for reasons unknown. I don't know. I'm not complaining. That's awesome. I think it is just such a menacing and imposing looking ship. It is so cool. The more I look at the set, the more confused I am by why more people aren't talking about how good this set is. Mostly everyone's attention right now is on Jabba's sail barge, the Dark Falcon, the Star Destroyer, the midi-scale Falcon. To me, this is the most underrated gem of 2024, and in my opinion, one of the best UCS sets of all time. So yeah, that is going to do it for the 2024 rankings. I'm sure you guys agreed and disagreed with plenty. Be sure to let me know about it in the comments. I love reading the comments. I love talking LEGO Star Wars with people. And if you guys enjoyed this and would like to see more things like it in the future, be sure to let me know by leaving a comment or a like. Once again, I am Howdy. This has been Brickity Split. Thank you so much for watching. I love you, and take it easy.